Welcome to the Bourbon Jerk. Thanks for your click. So for today's video, we got another challenge. This particular challenge was started by the guys over at SLB Drinks. The topic is the most interesting whiskeys in your collection. Now, at the end of their video, they shouted out a couple other channels. Those guys gave their takes, so on and so forth. And eventually it got to our friend Carlos over at the Whiskey Corner. Now, if you haven't checked out his channel, do it. Here's a link right here. So thanks for the call out, Carlos. Here's the most interesting whiskeys in my collection. So the first one, Balcones Brimstone, or Balcones, not quite sure how you say it. Now, I picked this bottle up while I was on a trip out of town, and I wanted to try something different. And boy, is this different. As you might imagine, with a name like Brimstone, this really does punch you in the face with some flavor. Now, the flavor is where it gets interesting. This is barbecue brisket in a glass, which doesn't sound bad. I mean, I like brisket. Who doesn't? Do I want it in my whiskey? I don't know. It's interesting. Quick facts on this one. No age statement, pot distilled, Texas scrub oak smoked, 53%, so 106 proof. So the next one on my list, Middle West Spirits, dark pumpernickel rye. Sounds bizarre, right? First of all, pumpernickel is not a common grain in whiskey. In fact, this might be the only one that uses it, at least as far as I'm aware. What makes it interesting is the flavors that come out of this. Kind of tastes like a pumpernickel pancake with maple syrup and blueberries, which is completely unexpected. The specs on this one, this is actually a single barrel from the Barrels for Hope Club. Comes in at 124.48 proof, 5-year age statement, and it's just a fantastic bottle. Next, single barrel rye whiskey from New Holland. Now, this is unlike any other rye I've ever had. What makes this interesting to me is there is a note in the middle of it, very distinct, and that note is Hawaiian Punch. The Hawaiian Punch that used to come in those metal cans that you had to pierce on either side and pour, that. And it's very pronounced. I'm not the best at picking out unusual notes, but that one just really hops out at me. Quick specs on this one. This is actually a Bourbon Junkies pick from last year. It's got a 6-year age statement and comes in at 121.42 proof. The next one is a big hitter. I'm talking about the Dukes of Hazmat, Canadian light whiskey. Now, this is interesting for two reasons. First, it's the highest age statement of anything that I've got in my collection at 27 years old. Second, it's the highest proof whiskey that I've got in my collection, not just by a little bit, but by a lot. This is 160 proof, which is probably about 20 points higher than anything else I've got sitting on my shelves. Next, how about a Scotch? Ardbeg Ugadale, or Oogie as people call it. Now, this is an interesting whiskey because you get the campfire, the ash, the peat smoke that's attributed to Ardbeg, but you also get like the nice, thick, rich wine notes because of the sherry finish. This is definitely the best Scotch that I've got in my collection. And last on my list, how about Travers Distillery, Cherrywood Smoked Malt Whiskey. So like the name suggests, it tastes like cherry and smoke, which is unusual for a whiskey. It's a good pour, I enjoy it, but it's definitely interesting. So there you have it. These are the most interesting whiskeys that I've got in my collection today. Thanks again to Carlos for the shout out. In order to keep this topic going, I'm going to challenge a few other channels. How about Dylan over at Whiskey Nature, Sam at Sam's Whiskey Bar, and Logan at Bearded Bourbon. Let's hear your thoughts, guys. Cheers. Stay jerky.